Hey guys, welcome to Flat Top King. Hey, today is about the new Camp Chef Gridiron 36-inch griddle review. If you guys want to see this bad boy, here we go. Alrighty, to get started, many of you may not know, basically 3-4 years ago when we started the channel, it was known then as the Charcoal King. We cooked with charcoal and cast iron. We had no intentions of ever getting a griddle. We actually asked the audience, what pellet grill would you recommend? Lo and behold, we ended up buying our first griddle after doing the market research ourselves. I liked it because of the idea you could remove the griddle top and you could have a gas grill as well. We bought a Camp Chef griddle. Fast forward 3 years and here we are. I had the luxury of being invited out to Camp Chef, located in Utah, north of Salt Lake City. They'll feel very fortunate. Never thought I'd be in that situation, but we had a chance to cook on these at their launch party. The problem is it was the dang blizzard. Now it's 80 degrees at home and it's snowing and the wind's blowing and everything else. So we didn't get a real fair chance to cook on it. But here we are today. We're gonna do my review just like I've done every single griddle review out there. I don't hold anything back. You guys know by now, I probably got it for free. Yes, I did. That being said, it doesn't change my review. They know that, and that's actually why they brought me out there. They said, you've been honest, you've been a straight shooter ever since day one. Seems like most of the stuff that you said was like 100% dead on. We've heard you, and hopefully this griddle changes your mind and could be your top one. So we'll see. There's certain things I like about griddles that could be different than yours. With that being said, I think it's time to get to the features. Alrighty, first and foremost, let's talk about the build process. This griddle came in 2 different separate boxes. Seems maybe unconventional per all the other griddles we've gotten, but I'm sure there's rhyme or reason behind it. This was not necessarily easy to put together, but it's not hard to put together. And why do I say it like that? Because when I say you have to put everything together, I mean you have to put everything together. That means that like you have to put the burners intact, you have to put the hood intact, every single screw and all that stuff. I will say this, and I will give a shout out because we put a lot of stuff together. One thing they did, what I thought was genius, and we love the idea. We don't put griddles together on video or grills because look, each person reads something wrong or whatever.
we're not great at it.
We're not. It did take roughly 2 hours, but that's honestly really because we messed up a step. That's our fault, and that's why we typically don't show it. But I will say this. Each little bitty baggie comes numbered. So when you go to step 1, you only use the screws in step 1. So you're not trying to fight over all the screws, even though the bag number 1 might have the same screw as bag number 22. You don't know that. Your mentality is, what do I do on step 1? You find the baggie that says step 1 and you only use that baggie. When you get to step 8, you find this baggie. Whatever is in that baggie only goes to step 8. And I thought that was
the first, we put together a lot of grills and griddles, and that was the first time we've seen that on any, and it did make it easy.
Yeah, so although you had to put everything together, like even the handle on the grease cup, it did go effortlessly. Now, let's get to the features. Just like all of our griddle reviews, we're gonna start from the bottom and work our way up. This griddle starts with 4 caster locking wheels. You guys know I'm a big fan of 4 wheels because we have to move our griddles around the deck so much. All 4 swivel and all 4 lock. I'm a big fan of that. If you notice, they actually do not have a bottom shelf. Honestly, it's not a make it or break it. Typically it holds pollen, but since it's not there, I don't think it's gonna be the end of the world. Moving on up, we have the propane tank. I like the way it's situated. I really like the fact that it's easy to access. It has 2 secure points, one on the bottom, one on the top. And if you notice that your propane hose sticks off to the side, which is out of the way from our shelf, and we can get to that later. Moving right up, probably the 2 best features on the whole griddle, honestly. It's extremely well thought of. The door hinges and it closes shut. You got your magnetic holder right there and right here. The grease trap. Love the bucket design. I think it's a fantastic design. It holds a ton of grease. There's 2 things I think about it first and foremost. First, it's out of the way. So what does that mean? It means that your pets, the rain and stuff like that cannot get into it. And second of all, the size. It's built with the same material the grill is, so it's not flimsy. You don't really have to worry about the liners if you really don't want to, but you can see that these liners can hold a ton of stuff. eggs, grease, water. When you open this door up, something that's fantastic is a griddle leveling tool, okay? If you notice, you have these screws right here. The tips of these screws fits the Allen end. You put this in there, and this is how you level your griddle. Or you can make it unlevel, and I'll show you why in a minute. Moving on up, one thing that's very unique to this gridiron is a new igniting system. Each burner is independently driven. Each burner has a peephole. What the design was, and I thought it was fantastic. I actually saw it in person. I understand the concept when they explained it to us. Each burner basically has two different parts now. The old school system on most griddles is the thing where you it just has that little spark. And so the propane's already in the tube, the spark lights the tube, and you see like the flames kind of like roll up the tube. This is different. This is called a flamethrower ignition. You can kind of see an image here, we can show you later. The spark hits a piece of propane right there, and it actually flows all the way up, like a good ways up the tube, to ensure that you're getting a light almost every single time. We never saw it fail, so I'm not saying that it can't fail. I'm just saying that it works very, very, very well. That ignition really shoots that flame up, and it's almost like a guaranteed light. We won't know until we get there, but I saw it and I was pretty impressed.
Now, when you say guaranteed light,
you know, like sometimes when you turn your burner on and it just clicks and it doesn't light.
okay.
The flamethrower is so large that it runs up the side of the tube. So when the propane tube is full of gas, it's almost like a guaranteed light. So moving right around to the shelves, both shelves fold down just like the other ones do. Okay. If you want to store this long term and you need to save the space, I really enjoy that. Some griddles that I've had before, just because the propane tank's over here, they don't allow this griddle shelf or side shelf to lower. I like the fact that this shelf can lower because you could just remove the propane tank and then your footage is smaller. I do have an outdoor cover for this. I've already put it on here. It is large enough to where you can have both shelves out without making them smaller, and the cover fits it. If you do want to lower the shelves, like I said, for more storage space, the cover's big enough and they'll just fold over top of it. It's not a big deal. Moving on up, obviously the most important part of this whole unit is going to be the griddle top. On the original griddle, they had the trough that was in the front. The reason why I liked it, because being in the culinary industry, along with the commercial side, being in the Navy, all of our grease traps were always in the front. I'm surprised to hear when they're against so much hate because I like the grease to be in the front. Well, any commercial unit is going to be in the front or the side because it's you can't move the whole griddle out to get to the back. So it's just the way that you were trained. That being said, let's talk about why we're here. This griddle comes pre-seasoned. We can test that. In my opinion, before we even get started, there's other griddles out there that come pre-seasoned, and there's a huge misinformation on whether or not you should season or not season. With my experience, with all the griddles I had, we're probably going to season it. I like to take the idea of a large cast iron skillet. They come pre-seasoned, but we all know that the more you season it, when you get it, the better off you are. I feel like that's the same thing with here, okay? We can get that to that later. What they've done is, instead of taking away your cooking space, they have added on to your 36-inch griddle, okay? Really quickly, let's just go over the dimensions. It's roughly 72 inches wide with the shelves extended. It's probably closer to 69 inches, okay? That's with the shelves extended. With your lid back, because that's going to give you a little bit more distance to cover, all the way to the knobs is about 31 inches, and it stands about 35 to 36 inches tall to the griddle top. With the lid closed, that really shouldn't matter. It's about 38 and a half, 39 inches. What's important about this griddle is, instead of taking away your cooking surface, they added on to it, okay? 36 inches wide. See that? Okay. Most griddles are standard 18 to 19 inches, and there's your 18-inch mark. So what they did is they added on to it. They developed a trough system. The hole here is a little bit larger, and that's because their spatulas go. I don't have their spatula on hand. Their spatula fits down in there perfectly. We can get to that later. The reason why I mentioned you might want your griddle unlevel. I get a ton of, why is your griddle not level? I like it a certain way. It's a personal preference. they've given you the option. You can have your griddle level, but what if you're cooking bacon? Go back in there, adjust that that Allen wrench. Now all of a sudden your bacon grease is running down to your trough, which naturally funnels into your grease trap. So basically what that does, that eliminates some of the systems, some of the headaches that you have as a griddle owner of always trying to get the grease off the griddle. It naturally does that for you. If you notice here, another great feature. If you notice, they have taken some of the griddle out. It's not completely flat all the way across. That's because they found that some people complain that their hands hit the side walls. So what they did, they just eliminate some of it, and that way when you're sliding your hand across the griddle, it's pretty much about even. And when they're spatula like this, you should have no problems. Something else that's fantastic, I would have never thought of it. They did. That's why they're in the business. Some people complain that their table always stayed greasy because every time they put their utensil down, that their spatula or something like that, it's there. Now, yes, you can have a caddy, piece of silicone or like a sheet tray. They put a lip right here and it's on both sides. Okay, you put your spatula in just like that. Look how the spatula fits the grease trough. That way it keeps your dirty dishes, your dirty spatulas off there. Something else they designed about the trough. Now, I use a different spatula the most. I've always swore by these spatulas. This is what we had in the Navy. I love the rounded tips. A lot of people have a flat style spatula. They designed this to fit their spatula perfectly. So the spatula runs your grease trough just like that, and then all that food and debris gets shuffled right into there. I just think it's just one of the things that sometimes you miss when you engineer something. They didn't. That's a home run. This comes straight from Camp Chef themselves. You can use the lid, but this is the cautionary tale. About 10 minutes on low, roughly 5 minutes, 4 minutes on medium, you need to open up and let it breathe again, okay? Let the metal cool down and all that stuff. So if you need to close the lid, you can close it. Obviously, you'll need to open it up. Can you close the lid again? You can, but you just need to let it cool down a little bit. You see that the lid is reinforced, and that is for that reason. Last but not least is the lid. You guys see it's on a swivel, on a hinged system. You know, a lot of people are able to use this function. I'm not, because of the way we cook. But you guys can use it for what it is. It keeps the debris and the junk and stuff like that off. You got your two little stoppers here for your lid. One thing I thought was really neat, they have a built-in wind guard design. Some air flows in, but it blocks pretty much of the wind. What happens is, when you close or open your lid rather, it kind of blocks that hold back area, reduces the amount of wind that gets in naturally. And now if you see here on the side, you just got a couple gaps, but this front plate is there, which blocks the wind as well. So you've got basically like a built-in wind guard system. The reason why the magnets are so important is because of the shelf design. I didn't really want to touch on it while we're talking about it, but it is a fantastic feature. Let me show you why. If you get the Griddle Essential Kit, if you notice that spatula right there and right there, both of those fit in your trough. Well, also, you notice it comes with a bottle holder. You can buy it separate, or you can get, or however you want to do it, the paper towel holder. The reason why I mentioned that is so I can actually show you. I struggle with some of the hooks as well on some of my griddles. I don't like the location. I wish you could rotate it more. I'm going to show you what these do. All these fit perfectly inside there, okay? You're thinking, wow, why is that a big deal? Well, you got 3 holes here, you got 3 indentions here, and you have 3 in the back, okay? So you could actually put these in any configuration you want. What's more impressive to me is on your bottle caddy and on your paper towel holder, they have magnets in the back of these. The magnets actually line up with these. So if you had your caddy right here, you can put it in the front, you can put it on this side, or you actually put it in the back. I think that's fantastic. I really liked it when I was there, got a chance to experience with it. And I can understand, the first thing that came to my mind, who wants it in the back? I put it in the back for the bottles, and since the bottles have a higher lip, I was like, man, that is perfect for me. That's literally exactly what I want. So I'll be getting one of them because you can keep your bottles out of the way. So I just want to show you that because that's what I felt like was like a really big upgrade in the accessory line. Before we start seasoning and doing all the things that we need to do with a hot griddle, I just want to show you the back plate. Also, I want to show you the inside of it. Along with, I don't know if I can actually show you. We'll see what happens. Let's see what happens. So my power is on. It's filled up with, yeah, so do you see that really quick? I saw it.
The like burst?
The flame shooter?
Yeah, I might not have had the camera on it.
All right, so we'll do it again. So my tube's full of gas. So you see that shoot?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So it's like two different pieces that they've developed. So your spark's back here, it throws a flame, and it's super, I'll just show you right here. Light, light, light. Like I said, out there, even in the blizzard, it didn't fail, but that doesn't mean it's not going to fail or not going to turn on maybe one time or something like that. But we won't know until we actually dive into it and use it all the time. First things first, we're going to clean our griddle with soap and water. So what you're doing now is this little Dawn soap, little dishwashing soap, and you're just getting all the manufacturer oils and grease and dirt and debris off there. You just want to start with a clean griddle. Before you season it or turn it on or add your oils or anything like that. One thing you can tell right away is the fact that my griddle, let's go ahead and do this. Use that tool.
You want it to be unlevel so it funnels down?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it might help. But you know, there's also times I like that when the oil pulls in the corners, because then I'm able to use it for like shallow frying and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think it just really comes down to personal preference of what you're cooking and all that stuff, but at least it gives you the option. So as you can see right here, now you can even watch the bubbles. You know, they're funneling down. You can watch the suds go down here and look at the suds falling into the trough. That's what your grease is going to do. See the water dripping down the grease trap? It's all natural right there. That's because we leveled the griddle to where it naturally funnels in. Alrighty, to get started, 10-minute timer. I'm going to turn it on low. That's all I'm doing is turn it on low. We're just going to check the temperatures. Turn on low, 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 low. 10-minute timer starts now. 10-minute mark. I've checked the temperatures along the way. Extremely ecstatic. I have one problem already we'll get to. So just go to show you really quick. Just right there in the middle of the griddle. 220, 212, 200, 210. No, I'm not kidding about the temperatures. It's been on for 10 minutes.
Do not try that.
Do not try that at home, but I'm just telling you, like, I can tell. Now, I can tell you one thing right now. There is a lot of heat escaping the griddle, okay? The front's hot, the side's hot, and the back's hot. She mentioned it while filming. When I turned it on, she could immediately film the heat from the back. Even though this has indentions, I'm telling you, you can feel the heat from here. It's not hot on the table, but the heat rises. If you had bottles right here, you're going to melt them. So what I'm going to do, because the temperature is so low, that I'm going to give it another 10 minutes. Because I just want to now see how long, at 20 minutes, how long the heat builds. I'm always a guy that believes in when heat builds, what do you do with it, right? We've preached that a lot. So let's just get another 10 minutes. So why is the heat building important? Because I'm a guy that comes in and out of the house a lot. I'm a guy that's very involved with the family. They do a lot of stuff in the backyard. So if you leave I don't want to sit here with a stopwatch. I don't want to sit here and say, well, you have an 8-minute preheat time, but if you don't get it at 8 minutes, then you overshoot it, right? What if you come out at 12 minutes? Does that mean that you're like 350 to 550 degrees? You're just cooking eggs. Now you either got to cook off the heat or you got to turn the griddle off and allow it to cool down, right? So when I'm talking about heat building, I'm just talking about like times and what happens when the heat is just so strong that you can't cool it down unless you alternate one of your ways to do it. So I do know one thing, 220 degrees ain't going to get you nowhere. So if that's on low, I'm happy and sad, right? Like I'm happy that we can stay low. So let's just get another 9 minutes now. 20 minutes on low. 235. 235. 260 and 260. So to me, what that tells me is I'm ecstatic already because I love a low. I love a low because it gives you the option as the owner and operator to adjust your temperatures on your situation, not on its situation. So if you want to do a 2-zone system where you have like this side high, this side on low, you can do eggs. For low, you can crank this side up and do steaks. We'll see how much bleed over there is as we cook on it. Since it's been on low for 20 minutes, that's a long time on low, I'm going to adjust each burner on medium. You guys know I love my bread test. And that's going to get us right there. So we're going to throw down some bread and see if we have hot and cold spots. If you just joined the bread police program, this is stale bread that's not sold in stores. So this bread right here is not supposed to be meant for human consumption. It's past its due date. So this bread will be used as a experiment only, then tossed.
People don't like it when they think we're wasting bread.
Is it okay if that little side right there is not done?
Yep.
You guys okay with that? 10 minutes, or we'll say 8 minutes. Alrighty, moment of truth. No idea what to expect. Alright, to clarify, I'm not worried about burnt bread. Burnt bread just signifies the burn patterns, okay? I could care less if it's burnt. What it shows you is this side over here is extremely light. Typically tops on the griddles are lighter in color. You're really close to even, and you're basically like what, 80% zone. 80% of the food you cook is going to be like right here in front of you. I could probably say that like right here, maybe a little hot spot. I don't know. I mean, God, it's tough. It's a lot better than some griddles. But this side over here is what really threw me off. I'm surprised to see this light color with this dark color right there. I'm kind of actually shocked at the results. I didn't think that's the results that I was going to get based on my gun telling me what the temperatures were. Alrighty, so the toast is done. Why do we do the toast? Just shows you the hot spots. Don't take it like any more than what it is, right? If you don't have a temp gun, as soon as you get a griddle, you throw a loaf of bread down, you kind of gauge your hot spots, okay? I'm just gonna take a rag while the griddle's on, kind of clean this bread up, get it ready to get seasoned. And before we season it, I'm actually gonna throw an egg down just to see how well seasoned it is. Since the manual says it comes pre-seasoned, some people might opt not to season it. That's their prerogative. I'm not arguing with you one way or the other, but let's just check to see how well seasoned it is. Before we allow this griddle to keep climbing in temp after we clean it off, remember this is pre-seasoned, okay? So I'm gonna add some oil down. It's stuck. I'm telling you right now, that egg's stuck. All right, my recommendation, take it for a grain of salt. I don't care what you do with it. I'm sure the griddle is seasoned. If you want to come down here and throw a burger down or maybe something greasy, that's fine. But if you plan on cooking breakfast first, you're going to have to season your griddle. If you ask me what kind of oil I use, I've been on this grapeseed oil kick for about a year now. I typically use avocado oil while I'm cooking, but when it comes to seasoning, I've had fantastic results with grapeseed. And when we say thin coats, we literally mean thin coats. Make sure you get your grease trap, all the corners, all the edges. If you feel uncomfortable, you can use a tool like this, a set of tongs. You can use heat gloves. I'm trying to let this egg burn. Hopefully if the egg burns, it'll come off easier. If you notice how little smoke is rolling off the griddle, what that tells me is we have a little bit more temp to go. So I'm going to adjust the knobs a little bit to maybe medium high. Because you should see your smoke rolling. If your smoke's not rolling, your griddle's not hot enough. We're about to put the second round of seasoning on. This is medium high, 400, 425, 425, and 400. So obviously the middle part's gonna be a little bit harder than the edges. Overall, it's close to even. I mean, it's close. That's what I'm saying. I was surprised that the toast acted that way. I'm gonna adjust these two burners on high. I'm gonna keep these on a medium high. I'm just gonna see if we can see a disparity in temperature differences. and see how much bleed over we have. And then basically the video is over. I'm just gonna let this cool down and give you my final thoughts. I'm gonna keep seasoning this. I'm gonna give it several coats. Alrighty, our griddle is calming down. We're roughly about 350 degrees. I'm just gonna add a little bit more coat of oil. I did about 3 or 4 coats. I just want to check that spot again for an egg. See if seasoning helped out at all, or we need to cook on it to really get a better seasoning. That egg's gonna slide like glass. All right, my final recap, things I like, things I don't like. Let's go about the things I do not like. First and foremost, I think it produces a tremendous amount of heat around the whole griddle. Like the whole griddle just seems hot. Like the table is only shooting like 145 degrees. It's just the air that comes up seems a little hot from around the griddle. I don't know if that would change if you actually had the hood on the back. I do not know.
Oh, we should
Where
test
you're
that.
at? Well,
I didn't even think about that.
but it's hot on my side too, and it's hot on the side. So I'd definitely be careful with the water bottles on the side. That's really the only thing. Like, I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to enjoy the griddle yet with the temperatures and all that stuff. We were able to hit about 525 to 550 degrees on high before I turned it down. Perfect for your searing. On low, it could have been a little bit higher on, like, I've never said this before about a griddle ever. A little bit too low, right? You might not be able to cook on low, which is a great thing in my opinion. That means that you can turn on low and walk away 20 minutes later and you haven't overshot your temperatures. I think that's fantastic. That just means that maybe you need to go to a medium low. Okay, I'm fine with that. Some things I like about it. We've never mentioned the price typically about griddles. This price is locked in at $4.99. So when you're talking about all the features you get for $4.99, I think it's a home run, right? The hinge hood, check. The shelves that go down on both sides, check. The accessory rail on both shelves, check. All the accessories that go with it that match and the mentality that goes with it, you can adjust as you like, check. The grease trough. I know some people are not a fan of the grease trap being in the front. They understand that as well. Not every griddle fits every person. But the fact that you can level your griddle now or make it quote unquote unlevel and have the grease flow towards you and into the grease bucket, which is an oversized bucket, check. The flame ignition, which really we haven't seen it not work yet, whether it be at Camp Chef in a blizzard or here on my deck. The flamethrower, check. We're going to cook on it some, get accustomed to it. You guys can see right here that I just think by seasoning your griddle, you're able to produce a better product. So there we go. That is my first impression of the Camp Chef Gridiron 36-inch griddle. Looking forward to many cooks on it. We'll see what happens. We're gonna put it up head to head to the Traeger from the Weber and let you guys decide which ones you like. If you guys are interested, hit that join button down below. It's a membership program. We thank each and every one of you for taking time for doing so. Check us out on the Griddle Group on Facebook, where of course these griddles right now are like hot topic. Everybody wants to know which one's better, what kind of features they have. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to press that subscribe button, pound the notification button, share with your friends. Peace.